actually, to be honest, because of this show being really bad, Dead City, I should just arrive in the moment it's 3 or 5 because there's just nothing else to talk about.
So that's your excuse. Dead City is so bad that like that's your excuse.
Is that the take?
Yes, that's my
Come
take.
on now.
Oh, wow.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Exactly. I'm telling you, Jeff. I'm being honest here, brother. Look, if it like I always come early because I want to see the guests, but this show is like, oh my god, it's like it's just going downhill. I'm like, let me.
Well, Andres really does. He generally really does appreciate meeting people in content creation. You know, like he is a genuine, like creator that really does care about. I've noticed throughout my time of recording with him and like live streaming with him that he does really enjoy meeting new people and all that, like throughout this medium. So like that's why I'm like razzing him a little bit, because like he generally does care, you know what I mean, like and appreciates like the opportunity to meet new folks and all that kind of stuff and talk about fun stuff. But he's correct though, like as I'll throw over to you, Andres, since we are live and this is the MCU's Bleeding Edge and all that good stuff. I will say that you're correct. Dead City is really bad. Like it is officially terrible. It's a joke.
Oh my god.
It's like, what was that article that we read out loud, Bridget?
God. I don't know. Something
I forget
about
where it was from.
Here's why Negan.
Here's why Negan is dead to the world and why we should kill him off the show.
Oh yeah, we read an article a couple weeks ago that was like that. It was like it tore it apart. Who was that? Who was that? Vulture or somebody?
It might have been Vulture.
Yeah,
or damn.
Was it No, not Hollywood Reporter. Was it Deadline?
It's so close.
It could have been Deadline.
It could have been Deadline. It was Sean Wolf something or other. I think that was his name.
Yeah, it was.
It was one of those 3-part names.
Yeah.
Our article made a good point. It said like with Dead City, you're always gonna have like stupid shit, like bullshit happen, like in the episodes.
We can swear. Okay,
and it's true. Oh yeah, yeah. You have to swear when you're talking about that. You have to be able to swear when you're talking about The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
like
we're
Direct City.
Yeah, Yeah, because we cannot handle look, no offense, folks. We're adults here. We need to curse sometimes in life. We always come from frustrated days, and today is one of them. And oh my god, it's just my friends had a birthday. And he had like a slideshow from his trip in Europe. It was way more fun. Yeah, it's way more fun than what I was watching. Like
not a slideshow.
Oh, so like nobody. So you're saying nobody likes slideshows, and yet that was better than Dead City.
Better than Dead City. Yeah.
I agree with you 100% on the slideshows. Can we finish with this? What is? I wasn't there. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, and just wrapping up this crazy story I'm doing. He had a great birthday, and we're making fun of him with the slideshow because it was long and it was like a half hour, and we used that in one of our games.
Wait, hold on a second. Back it up. The slideshow was a half hour.
Can you not?
Who cares?
Yes.
I mean, 10 minutes, okay. Half hour slideshow. What is happening? What is the state of media?
I don't know.
Personal media. You subject somebody to a half an hour slideshow.
Look, I was drunk. I was drinking
that's
beer, and I was dozing out. So I was like, okay. I saw lizards, and and I was waiting for the part when he was saying he was going to the bathroom in the forest or something like that. Anyway, it was a crazy story.
Wait. This just took a turn.
Yes.
This is a weird story.
Did it show him taking a squat in the foliage?
No.
Because I'm half in, half out, like I kind of want to know, like your friend's pretty daring.
Yeah. Well,
very racy.
Yeah.
For some people.
In Europe, if people know, if you guys haven't known, in Europe, you have to pay to go to the bathroom, if you know that. And
Who cares?
I know. Let me wrap it up, and we'll get back to.
I'm invested now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
this is more interesting.
This is not working for me. Like, let's go. Like, let's talk about The Walking Dead.
All right. So and he was just bringing up like, I had to, because he was doing hiking in very beautiful mountains, and he had to had to go. So so I understand.
Gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah. Hello everyone. This is Walking Dead City. Season 2, episode 5, live recap. You see up there my host, my friend slash host, Jeff S. Of MCU'S Edge. This is me, Andreas Diaz, the other host who just randomly just tell about his best friend's birthday slash slideshow slash crazy
Poop in
year
the
trip.
woods.
Exactly. But yeah. Are you gonna moderate, Jeff, or you want me to take over? I guess
It's your evening, isn't it, sir?
I guess so. Anyway, I have two great guests here. David Cameo from Squatting Dead, and let me get this right. Punky Brewster.
Yep. Yep,
Okay.
Punky
Okay.
Brewster. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel under Punky Brewster, but I am part of Squawking Dead.
Squatting
So
Dead. Oh, awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. It's great to have another podcasters with the dead because it's really hard. Well, it's fun to talk to other dead fans of this franchise. I grew up watching this franchise, and so it's great to talk to other Walking Dead fans. And just let me go from you guys to talk about your opinion of this episode and your overall feeling about this show. Start with you, Dave. What's your thoughts about episode 5 and the show so far?
So, okay, so my impression of this episode is, as we put it gently on our podcast, I think it definitely was the weakest of the season. I did kind of say it because we try to speak positively about the shows. We don't waste time on the negative stuff. We kind of just plow into like, okay, what's good about this episode? What's the redeeming part of this episode? But in terms of episode flow and what's happening narrative wise, there's definitely some great parts about this episode. But of the episodes that have aired so far, of course, this is definitely one of the weaker ones. Of course, in terms of what happens, why do we care about what ends up happening to some people on this episode? Question mark, right? Question mark. We don't know how we feel about it. Many of us were like mixed. People had mixed reaction about certain people going, right? And some people were animated about how certain people went and like, oh, I want to know her story more. Take your pick, So that's the take. No poop in the woods for me.
No. I understand. No, I'm like right behind you.
Oh God, don't be behind me if I'm pooping in the woods.
No.
Okay.
I was like behind your opinion, sir.
I mean,
I'm
front
sorry.
is fine. It's cool.
Yeah, front is fine, not the behind. I'm sorry. No, I
kidding.
completely agree with your views. Like I was shocked. Like I don't know. This show is so weird how they killing off their characters because one of the like special thing about the Dead franchise, the Walking Dead, is like when they kill a character that we kind of follow, like even the lesser known characters that are like in one episode, it's so impactful. Some of them. I know my friend Jeff. Of course, Pigeon Man from Derek Dixon is not one of them, but 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 there's others that
some people were really sad about. Sharon, who was on our show, was really sad about the Pigeon Man dying.
Well,
I think so.
I mean,
it's always mixed.
Yeah, it's mixed, but at least at least that was beautiful. Like at least it was a little more proper like send off than what we got with the seasons, unfortunately, which we'll get into. What's your name?
You can call me Bridget. It's okay.
Bridget. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm sorry. Bridget, tell me about your thoughts about this episode and your overall feelings about this season as a whole.
Okay. For this episode, I mean, Dave and I agree. It's one of the weakest. There was a lot of build up for not a lot of payoff. Unfortunately, I think the emotional manipulation that The Walking Dead has used against us in terms of like killing off characters, just we're desensitized to it at this point, right? We've got to have more buy-in for those deaths to matter. I cared very little about the characters that died in this episode, so I didn't have a lot of heavy reactions to it. I was like, yeah, cool. Okay, cool. I told Dave earlier tonight when we talked about this episode on our show that
quote
that I am happy that the Dama died.
Good riddance. It was their quote.
Good riddance was exactly what I said. I'm happy that the Dama died because I want the Croat to be in charge, and I'm a bad guy now, and I root for them. So I have to say, overall, this season, this season I'm interested week to week. So there's been some buy-in on my end, which means that the show must be doing some good work. Otherwise, that buy-in wouldn't be there. Nothing is ever going to recreate the feeling of the flagship show. Nothing is ever going to be able to encapsulate that feeling again. But I am okay with the franchise continuing however it continues because I'm not quite ready to let it go yet. And that may be naivety on my end and immaturity on my end, but I don't care. I want my Walking Dead and give it to me. Damn it.
I want my Walking Dead. It's like MTV, but
yes,
30 years ago.
30 years, yeah. No, Bridget very echoed words to the show, and I 100 agree with you. I was so happy. Not spoilers. I mean, I don't care. No one cares about this. But the dam is dead. I was like, when she was caught in the, what was it, the coat hanger or something? I don't know what it was,
It's
but
like a wardrobe.
Wardrobes.
Yeah, I don't know.
something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
a giant metal contraption.
It's not spoilers. The episode already came out. It's not spoilers.
Yeah, I know that.
We were easing into the spoiler territory.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, no one cares. No one cares about this spoil. But I was happy that she died in the fire. No offense, I'm not that kind of person. But with this person, I was like, oh my god. Like me and Jeff, I brought this to Jeff in the previous discussions we had in the show. She was the worst villain so far in this Walking Dead franchise. We have good villains in the show. I mean, the Whispers, Negan, the Governor.
Well, to be fair, Andres, we never watched any of the extended universe Walking Dead stuff during the show. Like we never got into. We didn't. We didn't watch Fear of Walking Dead and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like just
she's
to be
definitely
real.
not the worst villain. Like in comparison, there
That's
are worse villains.
I just wanted to be fair because we didn't watch it. I know for a fact I only watched the first season of Fear. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't watch any of it, right?
No, stay here. First season. No. Thank you, Jeff, for pointing out. No, that's true. I'm just saying, just in my time with the franchise and the spin-offs that I've seen. But I agree with Jeff. Yes, I haven't seen with the other villains. It could be true. I think Bridget. You're saying for probably not the worst, but I gotta say, just maybe like rephrase it. I think she had potential, but she was really worst executed villain I have seen, which is nothing new. We've seen this before, and I can,
because of the way she went out.
Yeah, she went out.
So much potential, but fizzle. I get it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it too.
Yeah, and but I agree with you, Bridget. I love the Carl Rack. I mean, I've been praising him, so I'm very excited to see him take over.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I just hope the show lands that. That's the thing that crushes me. It's like I cannot trust the show, unlike other shows. Like
I know. I don't want him to die next episode.
No, that would be very sad.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about
so much
that
hope
too.
for him.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
he's been like a punchline for every single episode, almost.
I know.
And this is the inflection point. I hope that now we can turn it around.
Yeah,
like season 1.
Yeah,
season 1 was awesome, even though he's funny.
Yeah, he's the kind of villain you really want. Like you don't want to root for, but he is. It's just the actor is so good. I mean, he's from he's a legendary character actor. I mean, he's from Oz, where he was so like crazy, as I don't know, the mayor, and it was just he's a great character actor. Jeff, your opinions on this episode, sir, and what you thought about this?
I'm just really blown away that it cost more money to make these episodes of Dead City than it did to make the original Walking Dead show. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's fucking crazy. It's like, where does that money go? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. Are they paying Maggie and Negan?
They've been around longer, so probably, but also like they're filming in more expensive locations. Like Georgia was arguably cheaper area to film.
Incentives.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't like that creates even more questions. Like, why would you shoot a TV show in fucking New Jersey? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like who does that? And then of all places too, and of all places in New Jersey, you pick the worst fucking city like in New Jersey to film this shit. Like, come on, places,
Newark or Jersey City.
Newark. Come on, man. Newark is like a shithole.
And Christos's place, by the way, Worcester, Massachusetts too. A lot of this series was filmed.
Yeah, it's odd.
around Worcester,
like, odd,
Boston
strange,
area.
fucking like weird, like like shooting locations. And like again, this shit costs more money than The Walking Dead did, and I feel like I just don't get where the money's going because like there's no like attention to detail at all with like incorporating like more Walking Dead or like using Walking Dead as like as starting to work off of as like a source material, right? As to what's good. Like add in like scenes where there's scavenging, where it shows them the different people scavenging again. Like how are they eating? Like we're what I'm saying, show them eating. You know what I mean? Like give like you have to be able to connect with the characters on to some degree at a human level. And if you don't have like scenes where they just interact like normally, you know what I'm saying, in some form or fashion, like socially eating, scavenging, looking for shit, finding shit, in like a post-apocalyptic New York City, you know what I'm saying? There would be shit to find,
They did, yeah, they did a better job of that in season
one. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, you're right. There's a little bit more, I guess, pauses.
It's just not there. The stuff's not there. Like they don't. It's not in this episode. It's not in season 2 at all. Like there's none of that touch at all to the episodes. And when there is touch, the stuff is like not valuable. You know what I mean? It's just like the deaths. Like on the Walking Dead original show, the deaths were valuable. You know what I'm saying? They like there was always a value that was achieved from like having the deaths of the characters. It was either like a really brutal death. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, that was like shock value for
that
the
you
fans,
cared about.
Yeah, and that you cared about, but it was also brutal, or it was like shocking. You know what I'm saying? It was like, holy fuck, they killed off Tyrese. Like, what the fuck, motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that was when Walking Dead did that to people, Like, you would watch it and be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Like, wasn't that your favorite character death?
That's my favorite. That's my absolute favorite episode.
Like The Walking Dead had serious balls when it came to that kind of shit. Like compared to other TV shows, they would just whack fucking other characters off left and right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was, and like, and it was, and they replace them. You know what I mean? Like, and they bring in fresh people, cast new actors, actresses, bring them in, and they'd all work. They'd all jump into the story and all that, and like jump in and find their niche. You know what I'm saying? And be valuable in some way in the show. You know what I'm saying? For that season or episodes, patch or whatever until they die. That guy died, or whatever. But like, there's just none of that happening in Dead City. You know what I'm saying? Like, the deaths aren't valuable. They're like laughable, kind of almost. Like all the people that died at the end of episode, 5 or whatever were like, they're like, when they just let the zombies bite them and shit. You know what I mean? Like, they're like moaning, like the acolyte. Yeah. Like the lesbian witches and the acolyte moaning, singing.
God.
I didn't see that, but I know what you're talking about. Actually, yeah, a lot of articles written about that.
That shit was fucking crazy, bro.
Can I say something though? This is something that we've been observing from at least the last season of The Walking Dead. And we've seen this also. Well, not necessarily Fear The Walking Dead, which I know you guys haven't seen, but how all life is precious, right, Morgan? All life is precious. So they've been so skittish about killing off characters in the latter seasons of The Walking Dead, specifically speaking, like late season 10, all of season 11, practically. And I think,
well, that makes sense because I don't mean to cut you off, David, but like I wasn't even watching then. I was like off and on at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like just coming back once in a while, and even then, it makes sense that it would be like that because like you could only continue doing what they were doing for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like eventually that's got to stop.
And losing all the audience that you're losing too all across time. So like, and they're thinking in their heads, okay, they left when they killed Glenn, practically almost all of them. Yeah. And then they left when Rick left the show, which is basically killing off a character.
And Carl. Carl, right, and then Rick.
Yeah. Me and Andres left when Glenn died, I think.
Yeah.
That's when I left.
Yeah, I mean, it was either that. Yeah, I know Carl was the big one because
I couldn't watch that episode.
Those episodes.
that first episode of season 7 or whatever it was. Where Glenn died. I knew it was coming. You know what I'm saying? Like even though back then it was whatever 10 years ago or whatever. It was different. 8, 9, 10 years ago, whatever. You would still hear shit about the episodes that were coming out, like you get spoilers of the episodes, you'd hear, like what was happening. You know, remember you
Yeah.
guys remember the buzz that you'd hear about The Walking Dead?
Oh yeah. I went to work every Monday and talked to everyone about the episode on
Are
Monday.
you okay, Bridget? Are you? That's like all those.
Well, it was like I worked at a restaurant at the time. The line cooks and I were the only people who were watching The Walking Dead, and we would just talk through the window as I was getting my food. Like, can you believe this happened? And it was really exciting. And that was my podcasting then.
Yeah, same here. I had this with my speech therapy in my school. She was a big Walking Dead fan, and we always talked about the new episode about it. Did you saw this? And it was so funny. It was like one of the best times in high school. It was just talking about the Walking Dead episode. No, I agree. I tried to stick with season. I dropped out midway at season 7 because just the story. Season 7 was very weak because the pacing was just slow. I like Negan as the villain, but like I just felt like it just the whole Negan versus Rick group war was just like they could easily shrunk that into like a very one season than multiple seasons. So, but
well, if you don't mind me, sir, I just want to wrap up what I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
saying. All I was
No,
trying
go
to say
ahead.
basically was just that I don't feel like they're getting value out of deaths in like this show very very well, and I think that's a major weakness that they have. You know, is that you know, they don't, unlike the original Walking Dead show where they really were able to extricate a lot out of, you know, and keep the story going, you know, like keep it chugging, you know, no matter what, well, people would die. You know what I mean? Dead City, doesn't do a good job with their deaths of their characters. Like we'll talk about it when we break down the episode, but like the death of the Dama was not like a fun death to watch. It wasn't like exciting or, you know, like really, I don't know. They didn't get, you know, it was kind of lame. I don't want to like beat the Dead City to death.
The Dead City horse.
No, but I mean, I'm sorry, but like Daryl Dixon is like cheaper, you know, to make, you know what I'm saying? You know, and it's a better show, I think. Even though season 2 fell off a little bit from season 1, and The Ones Who Live was a better show than Dead City. Of course, the Ones Who Live got all the money. Like that was the biggest budget out of all the spinoffs, you know.
Baby.
Of course, but that's understandable, right? No, I mean, it's amazing. You know, they spend a lot of money making this Dead City show, and I'm just shocked. You know, now that we know that, you know, that they're spending, $8-10 million an episode on this show. I'm just wondering, kind of, almost like with the Acolyte, like, not to bring that up again. It's never good to hear somebody on like a guest panel or something talking something about the Acolyte or comparing something to the Acolyte. Is not good, man. You know, like right there, what does that tell you about Dead City? Like, the fact that the Acolyte is brought up, is like not good, man. Because that was a tough sled, bro. Tough sled. Slogging
that
through
word,
fucking the
sled.
Acolyte. Tough sled, baby. Trying to fucking get through the Acolyte and talk about those episodes and shit like that. Oh my God, it was bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so, in general, I feel like episode 4 was very actionless. Is my last thing I'll say. Is we've talked about on other episode reviews of season 2 that there's not been a lot of action. It's almost like they want to make this show into some kind of like HBO style, like dialogue driven episodical drama type, show or something. You know what I mean? And like that just doesn't work with like what they have to work with. It doesn't work. Like you got to have the action and all that kind of shit, and like the fight scenes and all that kind of stuff to like make it interesting, make it exciting. And again, like it's either not there, there's not enough of it, right? Or like when they are doing it, it's like it's really short, or it's like lame, like again, like that, like those walkers fucking killing all those people there at the end. Come on now.
I will say something though. I think have you guys? I know that Bridget hasn't, but have you guys seen the teasers for Dead City?
Yeah, I've been paying attention to it towards the end of the episodes. Yeah.
The end of the episodes, but like even leading into the season, a lot of the crazier scenes or promos for the season have yet to even appear. So this is going to come to the form of a question, because I'm wondering, do you have hope that it's going to get, because even Eli Jornet, you saw the episode the episode insider, we call it episode or insider because of a gaffe. But even Eli Jornet says this was kind of like the mid-season finale, and for these last 3 episodes seem to be like everything is going to start rolling downhill now. And so I think a lot of the action that we're going to see is in the last 3 episodes. But do you have any hope that it will turn it around?
Um, it's really difficult. I think it just goes with the drama. The execution of it has to be good. That's my main thing with the show. If these next 3 episodes execute this like new territory to the story that we're gonna, follow our characters now after the Dama has died, you know, what are the replications and all of that, and see, and how well they would do it in these next 3 episodes, because that's important to like execute them very well in a satisfying way. And I the moments, if the moments work together with the story we having here, then I could be satisfied. But the thing is, like you cannot have like those cool moments have to be built on the character level, and like I can buy that. And that's the issue I having with Dead City. None of it feels really connected with these characters. Like, compare a good show. I know this drop off, but The Last of Us, season 2, despite it's not as good as the first season, that show knows how to bring me in emotionally with the characters that I care about. The Jackson attack and Joe's death, means something, at that moment, and affected our characters. And I'm just curious how this Dama effect will happen, because already, everyone is already aligned to this, regime. I'm kind of curious about it, but then, we know Negan will probably take over, and like be stepping up the role, and we'll see how that goes. That's
Great
the
question.
one thing. That is a good question, but it's just I cannot trust the show to deliver that very successfully, because so far,
No,
like
I don't think that I hate to say it, but I like how you guys felt about it. We didn't think season 1 was very good either. We were kind of shocked.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
at like kind of where it went. We felt like it kind of really fell off. I think towards the end of the season, like the last couple episodes, especially the finale, was just kind of rough. It was almost like they were forcing it too hard to like get ready for season 2 almost. And like it just wasn't that. It didn't
I see what you're
hit.
saying.
It didn't hit. So like as of right now, based off like what they've done through episode 5, I don't have a lot of hope for the rest of season 2.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure they've got stuff that they're gonna pull out, and stuff like that, like that bear or whatever. But the story overall, like what they've got cooking this season, it's just not like catchy or like a lot of fun. It's not exciting.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff here, because like comparison to like Daryl Dixon, when we left off first season, it was satisfying because they conclude what was going on first season, and like we knew that Carol was coming in next season, and so that like the build up, like everything felt organic, and like I felt like, all right, I know what's going on. Like they had a vision,
and they used France really well, and Paris really well, and on Daryl Dixon, like it was like a really good fun part of every episode if you watched it, Daryl Dixon was very watchable the first season. You know what I'm saying? You had the killer nuns, like what I'm saying. We both got killer nun t-shirts.
Yes,
cool.
Yes. Oh my god, it was so cool. I was so happy. And another thing I love about that show was expanding the walkers. We have a drug enhanced walkers. That were super powerful, and then they also have acid blood. That was a cool addition. So, I agree with Jeff. He's bringing up the problems I have with the show. They're not using the premise correctly. Like, out of all the shows, the Dead City should have been the greatest opportunity. You're in a city of New York, and it's full of zombies. Like, cool idea. Like at least I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie, did it way better. And that's like 15 years old, And, like, and something I need to bring up that Jeff and I have been discussing is the side characters. I do not care about the side characters.
Secondary characters,
Yeah, and that's something that's been a big issue with the show with me and Jeff. Like, at least Daryl and the ones who live had good side characters. Like, I mean, like the ones that live had like returning characters that we like. Gabriel, Father Gabriel came back for briefly to wrap up. The lady from the CRM. Julius and
Jadis.
Jadis. I'm sorry.
You mean Anne?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Whatever her name is.
Whatever her name is. Like that was a great payoff, and her death was really like tragic
Anne
and like
Stokes.
and yeah, she was great. And here it's just like nothing. It's just like laughable,
That's a good point, Andres. The Jadis like side story or whatever, the ones who live was actually pretty solid. It was very valuable.
Yeah, very valuable. I mean, because it was paying off so many years of like storyline, and it was a big deal. And so let me get into. Thank you guys for your opinions.
David, you should be careful about like cross questions on here, sir, because Andres, the pop culture guy, is known for being called the 60-minute man. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta watch out.
I love it. I love it. I'm happy to like sit back, relax, and be like, yeah, you just gotta do it. You do it.
Yeah. See, this is why I go 60 minutes, because I'm frustrated and it's like, okay, and let's get into the recap, because it's like, oh my god, it's like a shit show. Anyway, so let's start with the beginning of this episode. I'll try my best. I'm using Collider because they do a good job with the recaps. So let me do this here. So the episode begins with a group of men evading. So we finally, Dave, you brought up the part of like seeing moments in the trailers. I was very excited to see the Rockefeller kind of center, the radio city. If I'm correct, in New York. I've been there like a couple times. Really great, area in New York. So I was very excited.
As a matter of fact, I live here.
Oh, really?
I live in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Oh, but, that's cool. Yeah.
Some of my knowledge comes into our what we do. So.
Oh, that's cool.
We had actually criticism about the first episode because the Bruegel wasn't looking in the right direction to see the Radio City sign. Just so you know. He looked straight ahead and he should have turned right. Anyway, it's dumb.
Oh yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Anyway,
St. Patrick's Cathedral.
It's gonna happen. Yeah. So, Radio City Music Hall, right? We were there. We opened there, and something happened. We see the Korak like getting dressed. I was like, okay, he's trying to be fancy to the Dama. And, because he has this weird like mother, like kind of weird relation. It's kind of like it's interesting, but it's just like at the same time I don't care, because like I care for the Korak, but not the other person. But we'll get into that. So we see this, and some people are like outside watching this guard as is like guarding the Radio City Music Hall. He gets killed by them, and then they enter in the kind of like the basement storage where the electricity is at, and so one of them like killed the power and leaving the Korak kind of concerned in the darkness. And we see briefly the walker kind of coming into the window and stuff like that. And then after that, we cut back to like morning, where we meet again Maggie, Herschel Jr., and Armstrong, and pretty much dispatching the walkers in Central Park. Very interesting conversation. I agree with Jeff about the like conversation we have with these characters. It's sometimes okay, but then it just borderline is kind of boring, because it's like one of the things that's great about The Walking Dead is like they always have this dilemma of like what we should do in the apocalypse, how to like live normally during this situation. Like, stuff like, speaking of Maggie, her family was always cool, how they interacted with the Rick group, how they were living during season 2 with their farm. That was always intriguing. That was always the best part of The Walking Dead, seeing how they were trying to live a normal life during this zombie apocalypse they were living in. I get that Herschel Jr. is, not having a normal child during this point. And, obviously, we'll get into the storyline that we're sort of developing this season, how he's being used by the Dama, as like a mole, basically, trying to kind of entice the group and like, try to get them, I guess, which now is like, oh, okay, what's going to happen now with that? But we'll get into that. So, Maggie talks to him, and, obviously we get the conversation like, look, we're going home, we're not going to stay here, so we're abandoning this mission, because first off, the mission was stupid by the governor, who was killed off, suddenly off screen. Like, we didn't see her body or anything like that.
Well, we saw bird pinata.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Incoming.
Yeah, like that.
Bird chunklets.
Yeah, it was like Dark Knight Rises when like the mayor like was looking at us like, what's going on? And bam, like he gets killed off, like it's like that.
That's pretty
Hey,
exciting.
yeah. I mean, that was even more exciting death than what we got for that person. Because at least
Words.
Bane, it's like, oh, that was a lovely voice, and bam, explosion in Gotham City. Sorry, bringing Dark Knight, Batman in general for this.
I mean, we're in
podcast.
a city. I mean,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
some
and
connective tissue flying
yes,
everywhere.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and Dark Knight Rises shot in Wall Street. Occupied in
right.
New York. Yeah, so it's all connected.
It's all connected.
So yeah, the Maggie thinks we can. I'm just wrapping up this scene. Armstrong wonders if they can invade the Dama's church. That was the name. With just 12 soldiers left. I was like, wow, 12 soldiers left. Okay, and then Maggie thinks it can work if no one knows they're coming. Okay, and then Herschel Jr. goes off to sit alone on the bench, only for Maggie to follow him, and both lie to each other. That was kind of interesting. With their, at least that is kind of intriguing. Their relationship is a little complicated. I like, hopefully we can continue that. Right now it's like okay, with me, and then. Herschel kind of confessed, saying that his drawing of the Dama is just a woman he saw on the billboard, and where Maggie is saying that Negan told him to go home, which she leaves out the part that Herschel shouldn't be, trusted with Armstrong, So let me stop there and just get your opinions on this opening up to the bench in the Central Park. Starting with you, Bridget. What you thought about this section overall?
It was fine. It wasn't like the biggest draw to an episode that I've ever seen, but it was interesting enough. Like you said, the dynamic between Herschel Jr. and Maggie is interesting. It's what's really driving a lot of these plot lines right now. And I can see kind of both sides of it, right? Like it's a mother who's lost nearly everything in her life, with the exception of her son, just trying to keep her son alive. And then a son who wants to be able to just live his life and also has never known what came before. So only knows the death and despair and misery of the Walking Dead universe. And so seeing those kind of play against each other is intriguing. I want to know more. It's like, how did it get to this point? Like the last time we saw them together was in the final season of The Walking Dead, and Herschel seemed happy. So like, how do we get here? And it's applicable to season 1 as well. It's just interesting to see, like, the claim is that Maggie's held on to her hate for so long that it's caused him to be this way. But it's interesting. And I don't know if you guys know anything about the Walking Dead comic books, but it's an interesting divergence from the comic books. He's just a straight up weirdo in that. So
he looks a lot like Bruegel in the comics.
Really?
I just want to say that.
Yeah, true.
Same manner of dress, same.
It's a super weirdo.
Like, just crazy one-liners and
wow.
Kind of,
Okay.
yeah, a lot like Bruegel, actually.
Wow.
Right, Bridget? Does it make sense?
I mean, like, not really. More like,
less Kim Coates, more Bruegel.
Like more Lizzie.
Okay.
More Lizzie from The Walking Dead, I guess.
But dresses like Bruegel.
Yeah, but like dressed like a evil ringleader.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like a dandy, as you put it.
Yes.
Like I kind of agree with what you're saying, Bridget, because I haven't done preparing the comic book with these characters. I used to do that with the original show because it was always fascinating what was the version of the material. I don't know about that. You brought up so Jeff, because he's seen on and off season 10 and 11, and he told me we left Maggie in the hilltop, right? And now from the end of the original show, and one of the questions I can fill in the gap, saying that maybe Maggie starts to be like disattached to Herschel Jr., because of the emotions she has, not killing Negan. I get that part. And Herschel, remind him so much of Glenn. I gotta say, it's really impressive. He does look like, Stevie on a little bit, and like just in the appearance. So they're doing a good job with that. But they're not doing a good job at that, Bridget, is the conversation, talking about this, like it's writing 101. Just tell me what the characters are feeling, get into the head of the character. And, I know he's a kid and a teenager, but like there's a lot teenagers go through. And, I'm not understanding where he's coming from. And, and with Maggie, and just to remind people from what happened last season, is that there was the twist where she helped the Korak get Negan, and I've been anonymously telling this whole season and last season, I hate that twist. That doesn't make sense, and they didn't add anything to the story of this from first season and this season of like the Negan and Maggie relationship. So I personally think they should have done was like she just became a detached person and became this like cold person, like almost the opposite of Negan, where he is even more like Negan is more warm and like especially when we get into the scene where he's talking to that group, he's way more compassionate than Maggie's doing, and so I feel like we're not discussing like a lot of the characters' emotions and like why you're at this position,
That's a really good point, by the way.
Yeah,
I have to say.
yeah.
And
It makes
maybe that is the
sense.
point.
It makes
But-
sense for Herschel Jr. because he's a teenager. Like you remember
Yeah.
what it's like to be a teenager, right? Like you don't want to talk to your mom about stuff. So like that part I get. But then why is Ginny there if she's not there to be like his confidant?
Oh my
Or you know what I
God.
mean? Like if there could be some sort of connection between him and another character so you could hear more about what he thinks and why
Yeah.
he thinks that way. That might I don't
Yeah.
know. It might open up the doors a little bit
And yet
more.
they purposefully not connect, which I've noticed episode
Yeah.
through episode. They've just been like, you're in this corner, you're in this corner. And maybe that's intentional. Like, I'm yet to
I-
see if that bears fruit, but I'm just
No.
curious.
What no, I just wrapping up, from you, Bridget. No, I agree. Just I don't like one of our guests, a good friend named Ben brought this up. Like it's just weird not seeing Maggie taking in Jenny as a family, and like that is a weird part. And then with Jenny, it's like we're bringing this another plot line. It's like, oh my god, she wants to kill now Negan, and it's like, oh my god, it's just like they're doing the worst. They're worse. They're making the less interesting choices with these characters compared to other like in general shows. When they do pairing characters and stuff like that, they do it in a very interesting way with the story. Like at least Daryl Dixon, like there were interesting things to do with Carol and Daryl during that season. No matter what I thought about what they did, like at least there were interesting things. Here it's like, oh my god, like we're not like it's like the Taskmaster situation and Thunderbolts. It's
Okay.
like
So
I've-
you're supposed
I've
to
yet
be.
see.
What
No,
happened
no,
to what happened to moderating and all that?
no. Let me wrap up. Let me get
Man,
to my point.
I'm in. I'm
Yeah. So I'm saying I'm just with Ginny is like they don't care about Ginny, and like they're just making less interesting with her character, and like they know we don't like her, and I don't like that. It's like you can make the character better and like make me like the character. But that's all I have to say. Sorry, it's just again the frustration with these.
I think I can agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
I think they could have used her a little bit better here and there. There
Yeah.
could have been many spots where she could have done more. I can see that.
Yeah, exactly. So Dave, let me go to you. What you thought about this beginning part up to the Central Park sequence?
So actually, the one takeaway that I got from this scene, just outside of the emotions and things on the surface, is that when she's talking to Armstrong, she's talking about, yeah, we could do this. We could get the methane maybe with even 12 people. But then when she talks to Herschel, she says something different. She says, let's go home. We're going home. It's as if they're both denying each other. I mean, it's like a very childish relationship between Herschel and Maggie in a sense, where she knows he's lying about the lady. And he is lying to her about, I don't care. I don't care at all. And I think they're both denying each other what they actually want. I mean, I don't think Maggie really wants the methane. I don't think she cares about the methane in as much as if I get the methane, New Babylon Federation won't steamroll the bricks, which I still care about. And Herschel's like, well, I don't care, but I really do. And I want a future where I can be the person who builds up New York City and whatnot. But she shuts him down, basically, oh, we're going to go home. So much for that, like in unspoken terms. So I find that interesting. I feel like there is something intentional about speaking about getting the methane and then totally not speaking about the methane when she's talking to Herschel, which I think is intentional. I think you're saying one thing but doing another thing, at least on the Maggie end of the spectrum. We don't know what Herschel's going to do, and especially with Adama out of the picture. But let's not jump ahead, shall we?
Yeah, I agreed. I don't know. He probably will be evil villain and take over the empire. Maybe I don't know. I cannot see that kid join the dark side. Jeff, your thoughts on the beginning up to the Central Park, sir? Let's get to it.
Not very impressive. Start off like most episodes of Dead City, unfortunately, in season 2. Like the stuff that they have going on. In terms of like Maggie's, her whole side, quest or side story in this season, as like, the sort of the dual, star, head of the show. Like her dynamic with, the New Babylon folks or whatever, is like just fucking weird, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's not all that entertaining, like I don't care about the New Babylon people, like I don't care about them. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand how they're like able to find these places to live and shit like that in New York City when their boat got blown up, and they were like on the run. You know what I'm saying? How do they keep finding places to live and shit? Like with gates and all this shit, and like, I don't get it. And it seems so stupid to me. Like it's so common sense that it would make no sense to attack the Croat and Negan for the methane with 12 people, and like no ammunition and and like no supplies and all. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. Like seriously, they lost everything in the boat. So like, I mean, I don't know. I just like that whole storyline makes no sense. It's just stupid. I actually liked, did you go as far out as when Negan left to go meet that other dude?
No,
Andre's
no.
no, okay.
No, just the Central.
All right.
Stop at the Central Park.
Okay, then. So, I mean, I don't care about seeing the Kurak like try on suits or whatever. Like I don't really care. It's like whatever kind of.
I care deeply.
Like the whole thing of like having those people go in and cut the power, it could have went somewhere. It was like actually like a somewhat appealing like way to start off the episode. But because it just ended. And they didn't like continue it, it kind of felt like it was, half-lived. You know what I mean? Like it could have been a lot more out of it, They could have had like a full-on attack on the Croat or whatever, or something like that,
Or people talking about it or something like that. I think I see what you're saying.
They could have kept that going. It was very short, it was like, okay, you cut the power, that's it. And they went to the credits. They went to the intro, So like, I mean, again, I'm not trying to like, beat Dead City to death or anything like that, but like they had a good opportunity to hook people in right there, with that, and I felt like it just kind of like they cut it off too short, because I was feeling it, I was liking the vibe of that whole sequence, and then it kind of the energy it kind of fell off immediately after that when they actually went into the show, I don't care for the Dama, she hasn't been a good villain. That's obvious. So I mean, her scenes are just kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of philosophical banter that occurs, in some of her scenes, where she just babbles on, you know what I mean? She doesn't do a lot of that in episode 5 and, or anything like that, but she has in other episodes, and she can be kind of boring as a villain for me. So I didn't really care for her. In the beginning of episode 5. And, as far as Ginny goes, I hate Ginny. She is like terrible as a character. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why she's still in the show. Like, I mean, she was useless in season 1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This whole selective talking thing makes no sense.
The bitch didn't even talk in the first season. Come on.
People don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the selective talking thing makes no sense, man. So I mean, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I'll save my comments for the next portion of the episode. I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
That got me though. That got me a lot.
Just the right people. Me and Jeff don't like this girl Trini, who apparently
hates.
Yeah, exactly. He hates. I don't like. I mean, who matters?
Not the actress. The character Jenny.
Just the character.
It's good to couch.
Yeah. We just want a disclaimer. We don't like the character. We don't like the character. The actress is fine, but initially it was funny. It's funny. We thought she was mute, and then all of a sudden she did talk, and it was like basically a Spanish TV show. Like, oh my god, I cannot talk anymore. It's like what
telenovela.
Yeah, I saw one show that did this. I thought this character did it because I thought she was mute, and then I saw the pilot and she didn't talk. She did talk. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, you know, not sidetracking. So it's crazy.
I hate to say it.
Not Helen Keller.
Yeah. I agree with you, Jeff. The opening could have been awesome. I thought we were gonna have like a siege because then it couldn't. Because one of the biggest problems I have right now is the we're not having the common sense of like having this like gang war or like, you know, territory war. You know, that was something that was a big deal in the Walking Dead franchise. You know, like, you know, seeing these other groups that wanted to take over the, you know, like, I mean, famously the governor, when he came back, he wanted the prison, and that was a big deal. And it was so like intense and scary, you know, because we knew the governor, you know, from last season, you know, and this season is like, there's a lot of common storylines that could be interesting, you know, like the Penguin did this so well. Like we had gang territories, and it was cool to see how the Penguin rise as a crime boss. You know, this could have been like that, you know, seeing Negan to go back to his old ways and like maybe wise up, or a new, you know, like the Korak, you know, but we're not getting that. So it's really unfortunate where we're taking this storyline and this, like, you know, New York City presence. So getting back to like the recap. So we go back again, you know, speaking of the Dama, you know, we go back to the Dama's hideout. You know, Negan is like seeing his boss talking to a rat. I mean, it's normal. I mean, we sometimes talk to ourselves.
I've seen my boss do that. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Normal boss behavior.
Yeah, we need a friend. We need to talk to something, you know, a raccoon or I don't know, like a horse. Yeah, like we're desperate to talk to someone. So a rat is going to be our best friend. So she's talking to this rat, and so he leaves her, you know, be waiting for the Korak to show up. Just remember the rat that's going to be important. You know, at least Negan's thinking, you know, smartly during this, you know, this you know, situation. Yeah. So, you know, the Korak and him go together in the hideout. They talk about the attack on the Radio C music hall. And, you know, the Korak tells her about the attack. You know, she's unhappy if they lose the mapping operation. That's something I need the show to. They need to be very clear what's going on, because I didn't know. I kind of forgot. I don't think it was from first season that the mapping operation was in the Radio C music hall. It was another place they were at. So
St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Okay, yeah. So now
in the basement.
Yeah, it was in the basement. We saw that. The show is, again, they're not communicating to us, the viewer, how many operations they have with this mapping. That's crucial, because you're making this big deal of the attack. You need to be clear about that. That's one of the things that I'm frustrated with the show, is they're not communicating all what's going on with the stakes and all that. So, you know, like all hope is lost. She needs to get only the holdout of this other person. I'm gonna butcher this. Help me if you can. The Christos.
Got it.
Christos.
Okay. Christos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I say Christos, but he's not Greek, so I found that out the hard way.
Yes, he's Dutch apparently. I was like,
Yep.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
that was
to
a
join
twist.
Yeah, that was weird. But I mean, it's New York. We're mixing pot, right? But Negan interrupts. He needs to know what will be done after this because he wants to get his family back. Um,
Negan's
I
the audience, basically.
yeah yeah, he's basically me. I'm like, can I go back to my family? Can I go back to talk about my experience with the Mets yesterday? We won. The Mets won. But but
There.
you know, I cannot do that because I'm literally stuck in the show, and they're like, you're holding me back, like they pull me back in. I'm like, damn it. Anyway,
Like an old cop show.
yeah, or Godfather Part 4.
Yep.
She tells Negan that he does not living up to. Sorry, how. This is weird how to phrase this. It's really bad, like grammarly. She tells Negan that he's not living up to the hype. I mean, yeah, he doesn't want to do it. He's being forced to. Jesus, lady, like I was like, come on, like you're holding his family, well, like metaphorically holding his family hostages, and how you know where this family is? I'm like, okay, sorry, this is how angry I am with the show.
His
okay,
notes
okay.
are angry.
Yeah, I'm really angry now. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys, but promise that all is good once he gets Christos to join. So we've seen this group of everyone. The audience doesn't know. Episode 1, Negan had this like like showy like town like band meeting to the various fractions of New York City that they were in. Besides the Damas group, and he killed I think the leader of Christos group. If I remember correctly, or correct me.
It was Christos actually that he shocked with Lucille.
Okay.
So it was just
you.
like an electrical, like a
That's it.
tase or like a
Tase.
stun gun, I guess.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you, because I tried to rewatch these shows, and when a show doesn't hook me like this show, I'm not gonna rewatch it. So
I don't
thank
blame you. You don't like it. I can't
People asked
imagine you
about
could go
that
back and
during
watch
ours.
it.
Yeah. Because I thought he killed someone in the episode.
We talked about it. We thought he had like
Yeah.
I thought he had killed him, but it was just a
he
shock.
didn't. He was shocked. Okay. Yeah.
He had
thank
little
you.
birdies on his head as he walked out of the
Yeah, like a
St.
cartoon,
Patrick's
like
Cathedral.
yeah.
That's
like,
where all the money went, by the way. The animation for the birds
yeah,
and
the
stars.
birds. Oh my god, that'd be funny if they did that.
I thought so too.
It'd be
That's why I made the joke.
hilarious if they did that. I always loved that as a kid when Tom and Jerry did it. I was like, oh,
That's exactly what I invoked. Tom and Jerry.
Anyway, yeah. We're at. Oh god. Oh yeah. She tells Negan, yeah, you're not leaving the hype. Blah blah blah. We know that. Promise to that. She insists that Negan goes alone. So this was interesting. She despite that, this was kind of interesting that we saw this from the last episode. She started to favor Negan more than the Korak. That was an interesting development. I kind of like. I think that's one good thing about this episode. I like the build up to it, and I like that Negan was very smart to create the tension between those two. He knows that. That's at least one thing I appreciate about Negan. He's being very smart. I agree with the article we were just talking before in live about how this is not Negan. At least Negan is being a proactive character in the show. That's another problem I have. These characters are not proactive. They're not thinking smart. Where at least Negan is, at least, and what he's doing makes a lot of sense, and he's trying to get out of it in a very psychological way to get out of the situation. I get that. So I like this. Seeing that. Now she's favoring more her than the Korak. She insists that Negan goes alone, as the Korak didn't do so well with last episode with the other group, the Bruegel, if I'm saying that, the Bruegel, which we saw, and it makes a lot of sense because Negan at least helped to bring him being that side, and we see something that paid off from this episode. At least that happens, which I like. So. Yeah, so Negan has become her favorite now, and he knows that, the correct, so that was cool. Let me stop there. So let me go back to Jeff. Jeff, what do you thought about this section of the whole hideout? Seeing the Korak and Dama's relationship being kind of deteriorating, and Negan, noticing that.
It's just whatever, sir. It's again this wasn't a very good episode of TV. Walking Dead or not or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like regardless of whether it's Walking Dead or not. Like overall, when it comes to the core elements that you need to have, at least some of them working for you, like to create like a watchable, rewatchable type television series. They just don't have those strengths working in this episode or this season of Dead City. The interactions between the Dama and the Kurak and and Negan and like their sort of like politics, it doesn't really do anything for me. And you guys have alluded to and talked about like the Herschel Maggie relationship, right? And like that's another dynamic in this episode that just again like, doesn't really do a lot for me, as a fan, right? Like as someone who's watched Dead City all the way through, this was a really like sort of low key episode for their relationship, but like overall like their dynamic, their relationship. Herschel Jr. as a character, he's been less than impactful at times in the show, so like the whole plan by the stupid like head of the what do you call it
Crystals group.
The new whatever they're called, the
New Babylon.
the New Babylon
Yeah.
folks, like their faction or whatever, them sending off that like Maggie to go get Negan or like and all that and bring them there or whatever the fuck they're supposed to do was just dumb. I thought that was stupid and very like gimmicky, like, oh, we're gonna keep your son and you're gonna go do this, like okay. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got on that that part of the episode. I like the stuff that has to do with like the scenes where Negan was talking to like the head of that gang or whatever, that faction, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. So let me go to you, Dev. Let me ask you guys this because we really talked about this and I'm kind of here. I want to mention here. So first, what do you thought about this section of the whole Dama and Korak's like relationship being kind of deteriorating because of Negan getting more favoritism, and what do you thought about this whole family, his family being alive and like being used as the plot for Negan to be part of this plan, because it was out of nowhere. I was kind of surprised they did that. So Dave, go ahead.
It's been going on the whole season. What do you mean?
Well, I was surprised. I kind of want to hear what they think about it because
as a thing for the season. Yeah, I get you.
This season. Yeah, that's my question. Sorry.
Well, so I hadn't mentioned it on our show today, but now that I'm thinking about it, like we recorded a couple hours earlier live, but it's kind of funny how this kind of goes to what you were saying before about why don't factions exist and why aren't they killing each other? It used to be so big and people used to go so hard. Well, that's kind of the point. I think you get, according to the show, we're not going to debate timelines, but according to the show, it's 17 years after the apocalypse, 17 PDI, according to the New Babylon Federation sign. And I think a lot's happened since the apocalypse. It's kind of like when, I don't know if you're going to get this reference, but maybe some of you will. It's kind of like when Park Slope or Williamsburg, all these trendy neighborhoods in Brooklyn, like, oh, we do drugs and we like to party.
Oh, yeah.
But after a while, what ends up happening? Those people have kids, and you see strollers everywhere, and that's Dead City. Basically, Dead City is the apocalypse is now gentrified, and so I think that's what's going on. And so this episode, at least in some respect, bears fruit when it comes to that. And you see Christos's family. We're not there yet. I know. I'll jump back. Don't worry. So when you see.
Okay.
So when you see Negan being held hostage by his family, that's happening everywhere. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bruegel, I mean, I would be a little bit surprised if Bruegel had kids. But what I'm saying is that is reflected in Herschel and Maggie. That's reflected now in Christos and Negan and his kids. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually happening in more places than we actually understand, that these people have survived 17 years this long by maintaining, I'm not going to say cordial relationships with all these tribes, but they make it work in however way they manage to make it work. You know, I'm sure it was bloody at first and brutal, but even Christos mentions it. We picked the city clean. And now it's like when Bruegel made up these games, even though we figured out eventually down the line that they're unfair, that it's the only way to go. And it worked a little bit at first, and then we kept losing and losing and losing. So take it back to Negan. I think this series is probably appealing to an audience who has grown up watching The Walking Dead and understanding that when you get this far in, you're much more hesitant, like as a parent does about his kids or her kids, to wage war. And you're much more hesitant to kind of go in half-cocked because it's one false move and your whole family dies. And isn't that what we're, as parents, all fighting? I'm not a parent, but isn't that what all these people are kind of hedging? And actually, case in point, isn't New Babylon acting way more sus when it comes to that? They're willing to risk fathers and mothers, as soldiers in battle. And so and that's why we hate them so much, because they're so willing to throw bodies at a situation. Whereas these people in New York City, they're like, no, I don't want to throw my body at this. The games, the Battle Biter games that Bruegel was throwing is like an example. Like, well, let's take out our frustrations on these walkers instead of each other, because we're all we have left and we have families now. And so I think that's what the series is kind of saying. Even though Negan is boring to watch, according to the article, it's an example of like, well, aren't parents in a way helicopter parents? They're like boring to their children. They're like, oh, don't run away too far from my sight, because if you do, you'll get into trouble. You run into the street. There's a ball there. You get run over by a car. I don't know why I'm talking like this. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, I think. And having that held over Negan, watching his droopy dog face every single time they're brought up, and the Dama's like, I'm praying for you. It's it just shows the tension of. That's the only thing I've been able. And to your point, Jeff, when I see that sort of happen with Negan, I think that's the most interesting part, is to see him shut down and like, oh my God, this is not the Negan we know. He has a kid and a wife, and he has something to live for now, not like before where it's like all harem chicks, which is arguably something I don't want to wander into because it's rough. Conversation.
Yeah, no, very good points. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, especially how we're seeing the fractions here. I just kind of wish, this the whole problem with the show is the Dama. It's like, why we need a villain for the Dama if it made more sense to make the New Babylon being made villains. Like, I don't understand. We'll get into it. I'll get into it when we get to the Dama's Day. But I think that's one of my criticisms. It's like, why you want this villain where you can easily done this group to be the main villain, Bridget, your thoughts on the section of Dama's hideout, where see the relationship between Korat and her deteriorating, and your thoughts on the whole family thing with Negan, because I like what they brought in. It made a lot of sense now.
Yeah. In regards to this chunk of the episode, I would say that like I said, I don't really care for the Dama. It's not that I think she's the worst villain or anything, because trust me, we've had way worse. Martha from Fear the Walking Dead, seen anymore.
Season 4.
But we've had way worse. So this is not that bad. I just she's really everything I hate about pretentious people, and so I think that's why she's so unlikable, right? And she's a critic. For God's sake, like, of course, she's supposed to be unlikable.
A theater critic.
A theater critic, the worst kind. And so, it's she's written to be not likable. Is the actor doing a phenomenal job at playing an unlikable person? Definitely, because I really don't like her. So phenomenal work there.
Especially if you're not from here.
In regards,
you don't get it.
In regards to Annie and Joshua being taken. We're taking a villain at their word. So is it even true? That's really all I have to say
Finger
about
guns.
it.
Yeah, no,
that's
Bridget,
all I have to
good
say
point.
about
That is a good point, Bridget. Like I
I
remember
was waiting
missing
for you
like
to bring it up.
yeah,
it. Yeah.
I was like, is this Inception over again? I'm like, is this real or not? Like, this is, oh man, Bridget, you brought something so good. This is the best day ever. Like this live stream is better than what we saw in this episode, folks. Watch us, not the show.
That's how it
We're
goes,
doing it.
man. We start talking and we start figuring out, like, oh wait, maybe this is all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a good point. I totally forgot she was a New York critic. Now it just is it's the Birdman thing. She's like the critic from Birdman. It's like I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you.
That's
And
it
she's-
exactly.
And she's so bad that someone wrote a play about how horrible she is.
Yeah. And she
Like,
ate
and
the
then she
person's
bit him.
And she
Yeah.
took it personally. How
I-
weird.
Yeah, I know how weird. No, see, they should have shown us that scene because that could have made that last episode even more memorable.
I think we got it with the Croat. That's
Well,
the,
now,
the
yeah.
Yeah,
joke.
we
that's
gotta
true.
replay.
Yeah, that's the joke.
That's the
yeah.
joke.
Yeah. We'll
She
get
bit
into
him.
that. Yeah, it was. I was shocked. I was like, oh, that. See, that moment felt like actual Walking Dead moment. That because we seen that before, and it was shocking. And like for me, it felt like the Walking Dead moment, but not in a great way. But anyway, so getting back to the recap. Thank you, everyone. Really great thoughts. So let's get into this. Just let me short this whole thing here. So another frustrating thing with the bottom line, besides we don't like the Dama. I don't like this new bottom line person. Was it Narvis? That's her name?
Navarez.
No, right.
Narvaez.
Narvaez. Thank you. She was like the second right hand woman for the new Babylon leader before she died. And at first, I thought she was gonna be like trauma, and she's kind of like going to do this typical thing. But no, she's so like head smart. She wants to do things so fast and quickly. And I was like, dude, you don't have enough army to take over, the bad things, stuff like that. And she gets everyone behind her. She gets everyone to support her constant fight with the new Babylon, right? And some of the army. So and she has taken power from like Armstrong and has him arrested for treason for lying about killing Negan. So we got that, pay off. And then, Armstrong admits that he had let him go, but he says that he's now with the Korak and his mainframe operation. With Negan trusting Maggie, they can get to the field, but I mean, she doesn't believe that. So both Armstrong and Maggie are kind of taken to her quarters because she has taken over the previous location we have in the Central Park. Sadly, and I was like, oh, okay. And so she, and then this is where we see Ginny finally speaks. I was like, oh, she finally speaks again, and she's the one who sold them out. I was like, gee, like, this is what I mean. Like Jeff hates her. We hate the character. Let me phrase that. We hate the character, and this is the moment where I'm like, Jesus, showrunners, I know we don't like her. You don't have to make her even badder now. And this is the moment. I was like, oh, of course, she sold them out. And
When have we liked a teenager on The Walking Dead, though, to be honest? Or The Walking Dead universe? Barely.
Yeah,
I
that's
barely like any of them. I barely like Herschel. I mean, to be like as
I
a
mean,
teenager.
the teenager, yeah, that's true. I mean,
Not as a person.
not a person. Yeah, he's we'll get into it. He's like very useless in this show. I have to say, like especially last episode or when he was trying to get out of the boat. Anyway, I mean, at least just one character I do like is the French kid from Daryl Dixon. At least he's more useful and like at least I understand his problems and he's like at least because he's been put as a messiah and that makes a lot of sense. And they at least took the logical conclusion of that character. And he's a great, and Daryl worked with him very well. So I agreed. So, Maggie says the new Babylon has no chance against the other group. Was it the Brusses? Sorry. That's another thing I don't like about the show. They haven't got the effort to make these fractions well, or like at least I can properly say them right, because like at least with The Last of Us, I know the fractions of the Cenifies and the wolves. Like I know the fractions, and this show hasn't done that well, and I hate that's
Oh
frustrating.
yeah, they don't have like faction names.
They have actual names, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that
and
the crew has called them the Foragers.
the Foragers. Yeah, that's a good name. And
Yeah.
Dave, you have a good point. What you were saying about what they're trying to do, I get that, but it's always important you at least give me the names for fashion. I can understand who's who, because there's a lot of characters in the show, and
Yeah, that's fair. That is
Maybe
fair.
that goes to your point actually about
Yeah,
why like Daryl Dixon, they kind of every time more characters on the show, they either never come back or they die.
they
Daryl
die.
Dixon, and
And
we
then
stick with the 3 that we have or 4.
yeah, and I mean, even that I understood who was who, in which faction, and because they made it clear who was the main a antagonist and then secondary antagonist. They understood the job, how to do handle the characters. So she wants Maggie to go to Negan, surrender, and then and go to the car ride and go to escort them off the island. So setting up a trap for this group, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll see about that. So New Babylon can ambush them, and the leader tells Jenny that they will save Negan for her so that she will kill him. I was like, all right, that's the deal. And to get Maggie to do it, Herschel will be staying with him. Again, using Herschel as a hostage as usual. Typical, Walking Dead.
It's like, oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, you did it again. I'm like, man, poor Maggie. It's like, I just want my son to be safe. It's like, oh man, dear Lord. Just wrapping up. Let's get into the part where back to the radio, Steve Mixie where we see the car rat expecting the damage, and he finds something that makes him smile, which is kind of that was interesting. So we don't know just yet, but then after that we focus again with Negan being taken in by Crystal's army, and Negan meets with the leader to ask one last time for him to join them, but Crystal won't be intimidated, and he was not interested, and he takes Negan's electrified bat. Very cool. I just kind of wish it did electrify, so I know it was electrified bat, but whatever. We're trying. I know the city. I know the Walking Dead is not realistic. They're they're grounded, but I get it. But anyway, it, before anything else can happen, his kids walk in. I was laughing. I was like, oh, the kid's gonna win, and then he spoke in Dutch. I had the subtitles. I was like, oh, he's Dutch. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't have a problem. He was a Dutch, and we saw his wife, and there, Negan sees many people there. The kids, the family. As you were saying with Dave, I now get what they were trying to do here. Especially this scene, I actually like. This is my favorite moment. Not a highlight, but it was a good moment because seeing Negan switching off his persona and really trying to save this group. And that's a good moment to see Negan's humanity coming out a little bit.
Well, the shortcut is The Walking Dead season 8. You get a glimpse of the Saviors having children.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Sorry,
Yeah.
I seen the recap and I forgot about that. Yeah. But again, let me rephrase that. Seeing again Negan, in his more good form, I was seen previously from the original series. Thank you. So and he now understand why, he's protecting the people, as he say in that scene, and Negan tells him that he relates, him, what he's saying, and he's backing down or trying a new strategy. And so let me stop there. So starting with you, Bridget, what you thought about the section of Maggie getting captured with the New Babylon and now forced to do the ambush, and then Negan talking to the group about come with the deal they have for one last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a frustrating part of the episode. Maggie walked back in, so could have been avoided, but but she was adamant to get her son, which is what this whole series has been about. So I cannot fault her for it. The part with Christos and his people and Negan is interesting. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has said a lot recently in interviews that, like, you know, he's getting to be an old guy, and like, how long can he play this character for? As like as he's getting older, and so honestly, for a moment, I was like, oh god, is Jeffrey Dean done? Like, is he like not okay right now? Is he like over this whole thing? And then the Crowhead comes in and he's like, ha ha, I'm poisoning you. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's just methane.
Oh, you're a really great actor. And I thought like something was wrong for a moment. Like I thought you were like done with this character.
Senior
And you were
moment.
like, yeah. But it was nice to see Negan connect with the character and want to be really diplomatic, because it's a stretch when we consider who he was as leader of the Saviors, to see him be this diplomatic guy, to be like, no, we can go about this in the right way, and everyone can, you know, get their place at the table and take part in this and participate and move us forward. That's really nice to see. It's a different Negan. So we're seeing again, I know, like we'll all say it till we're right in the face, right? Like he was a horrible guy. No one's gonna deny that he was a horrible guy. But seeing him like this is nice, it's refreshing, because there's been some sort of character growth.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just checking the Jeffrey D. Morgan's age. He's only like, I mean, he's just currently 59, so he's becoming soon six. Well, actually, yeah, he already became 59 last April.
Yeah, he's just been saying that, like, he's like, what am I gonna be like in my 60s still playing this character? Like, what's going on? Just kind of made some comments about it, so which makes sense, right? The show's been on for so many years. We're talking 15 years now since the original airing year, since 2010.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, I kind of understand that, but then I don't know. We'll get into it, I guess, but yeah, I'm a little mixed about that. But Jeff, what do you thought about this section, sir? About Negan talking about this group to join for last time before any bad will happen to them. He's trying to save them, and of course Maggie getting captured and being forced again to like ambush.
I mean, it probably like Bridget said, it's probably the best section of the episode or whatever, but then of course they just kill off that character that was actually somewhat interesting in the episode. He's dead all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And all his people are dead, and all that shit, you know what I mean? So it's like, holy fuck. It was like, I didn't want that guy to die, necessarily, like for the show, I wanted him to stay alive. You know what I mean? I already talked about how I felt about the whole plan to, kidnap Herschel. Herschel always get kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? Like how, like, I mean, that they've used that trope so many times already. Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
The Guinness Book of World Records. Most kidnapped child on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, come on, man. The fuck is this shit, dude? So
it's actually like, so funny.
So, I mean, you got to add it to the list of like stupid shit they do on Dead City, man. But like, so yeah, I mean, that's just, I mean, that whole plan with like sending Maggie out solo and all that shit. I mean, yeah, Maggie's a badass. We all know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've done a really good job. Like, I watched enough Walking Dead to know, like, by the time I stopped watching it, that Maggie was a badass. You know what I mean? Like, like she was like, when it came to like killing walkers, like hand to hand or whatever, like with weapons and shit like that, Maggie was like probably the most effective female character on the show, I think, probably at one point, when it came to like combat, like melee combat almost or whatever, she was the best, I thought, at one point on the show,
It's like her and Michonne are like at the top.
Yeah.
And I think that that like maybe it's possible maybe that actress didn't get enough credit, for like her action scenes on the Walking Dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, because honestly, she did a great job. Crossing over and covering both sides. The dialogue driven stuff that they had in The Walking Dead, that was all dialogue driven. like the storyline, type stuff, and then you'd have your action, They just did a lot better, a much better job on The Walking Dead when I watched it of mixing in enough action and fighting and walkers and elements like that, and infuse enough into that stuff into every episode to where it was more exciting, it's just it's unfortunate that the rest of episode 5 really is really flat after the methane poisoning scene, with the that faction and all that shit. It's probably that's the high point for me of the episode right there. Like that was the build up to like that point, and then it just went kind of downhill from there, for the rest of the episode. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with it, Andres.
Thank you. Yeah, I agreed. That was definitely a really great moment of this episode. And just losing that group was kind of sad. And I agreed. I mean, how many it's not like that Herschel's getting kidnapped. He's also being useless, and it's like thinking his brain. Like, you don't have to defend yourself. Your mom teacher, right? I don't know. I'm questioning Maggie's teaching or parenting.
Not the first time we've heard that one, right, Bridget?
Yeah.
What are they teaching these kids?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about these ill-equipped children.
Yeah, I know. For God's sake, Rick's daughter knew to defend herself. She had a gun and she was ready his hand. God damn it! And the kid from Daryl Dixon was smart. He defended himself. He knew the procedure of Walking Dead 101. Oh my God, Herschel! Herschel Jr. is just so pain in the butt sometimes. Anyway, Dave, your thoughts on the section of Negan talking to Crystals and trying to save him before he died, of course, and Maggie getting forced into again ambushing Negan and then the whole the Korax army and all that.
All right, so I'm going to tie this to, and I know you may bring this up, you may not, but throughout that whole section, there was that one section where Roxana has that conversation with Armstrong about the riddles and the choices, right?
Yeah.
So that ties very well with the Christos scene, because I touched on it already, and we don't have to backtrack there. But why that is really, really important, the takeaway that I got, and to the credit the show, the show in various places has been really good about connecting certain scenes, and this was one of them. Essentially, the whole thing about the bird always knows, and the riddle, and her uncle Cyrus with the bird and the riddles, that was really to illustrate it's coming. It's coming. Don't be afraid it's coming. Get ahead of it, whatever is coming. Because if you don't, somebody's going to make the choice for you, and you won't be in a good position. And isn't that Christos essentially? Christos, you waited so long, and I get why now, because of what we saw. And he is kind of like a Negan character, okay? He talks a big game, and when Negan and this guy, blah, 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 skinny old white man, remember he said on the pulpit, he was like, come on, bro, and he said what the article said, basically.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
So this is the same character. He feels like, and another theme that kind of goes throughout this episode is that lest people see them look weak, they have to kind of, there's from the Dama to Christos to Negan to the Croat, when you see someone look weak, they feel like they have to do something about it. And so Christos and Negan are very much like that. And so when Negan kind of sees something in Christos, it does go back to the whole, if you don't make a choice, the choice is going to be made for you. And what happens? The Korak comes in and makes the choice for him. He took too long to answer. He took too long to pick a side. He took too long to what? And he didn't protect himself. Like, if you were not going to make a choice, they're going to come after you, right? You've been too comfortable for too long of these forces, these tribes not attacking each other, because the Bruegel made it comfortable, right? With his games. So the choice was made for him. He was taken out. And in a way, I kind of like that, because it tells a bigger story. Because, well, if Maggie doesn't wise up, let's just say, and Negan is catching on. He's like, I need to stay 2 steps ahead of everybody, because if I don't, I'm not going to have the upper hand when Joshua and Annie comes in. So she gets that. You see a little bit of that in Maggie when she eventually gets caught, but hey, she tried when she comes back to the Foragers camp. And, you know, she's like, I'll take out Nervaya's, blah, blah, blah. Smart, right? She's trying to get ahead of it because if she doesn't, blah, the choice is going to be made for her. And I think that's what that was trying to illustrate. That was my biggest takeaway, is that if you don't make a choice, the choice is going to be made for you. It's all in how you greet the choice. And that's what I like. That's what I liked about that. And to your point, Jeff, by the way, probably one of the more compelling scenes because it was upsetting. I did not like that Christos and his men had to die that way. I thought they were interesting. Of the deaths that happened in this episode, that was the most interesting to me, the most compelling. You got to feel for them before they went. And I think that's a big theme, is that if you don't, and this is big for Maggie, man, if you don't, this is going to happen. The world is going to happen. You can't keep blaming Negan for every bad thing that happens in your life. You need to start greeting these things that you need to adapt to. And I think that's the biggest overall takeaway. And I think that's why Eli Journet called this episode the mid-season finale, because this is what you're supposed to take away. Now here's the rest of the season, and let's see if somebody learned something today.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it was a really good sequence. Because Negan, like, that's the thing. I care. It's this weird thing. Like, I don't care about the Maggie storyline because of the frustrating story, like, direction. But Negan, I care more about because I understand what's going on with him. He has stakes that I understand, and he, Jeffrey D. Morgan is a great actor. He really acted really well in that scene. His reaction to what's going to happen with those people, and it was really sad. I agree totally. And speaking of that, we already kind of discussed about that. Was it Armstrong talking to the leader from the Central Park about the choice that we make before it's too late. I agree. It's definitely connecting what we're seeing with the characters. They're making a little too late with the choices, except for Negan. Negan is making the right choices right away, and he's making, yeah, like at least he's making like right away the choices. Is like, okay, do this, do this, do this. Like,
oh, and by the way, there's a Chekhov's gun, because in the first episode, I think maybe it's the second. Remember when they were having that conversation on the rooftop with the Croat, and Victor's in the background going, "Yeah, oh yeah." He's talking about the feast and what Negan, obviously the group that was attacking Negan's the saviors, they were overpowering. They had way more, so he invited them for the feast, and then he poisoned the food essentially with Walker meat.
I know.
That shows you why the way he's moving for the rest of the season is like he's using trickery. It's something that he's used before, apparently, in the Croats time, basically.
Yeah, which I really like. And and I that's one thing I appreciate that with. And actually, speaking of Korak, this scene also make now the whole Korak and Negan relation even more intense, because he, first off, the Korak killed the guy with the violin. Really, like, that made Negan really mad, and I was upset because I did like that character in episode 2. I think that's what happened, and then of course this now even pushed forward, and so I think this rivalry is going to be really intense. That's the one thing we brought up before. I love we got someone that know Negan previously. We didn't see him. He's a new character. He hasn't been in the original series. It's really cool what they're doing with this character, and that's the reason I like the Korak, because we're filling in gaps of Negan's storyline as when he was the top dog. And I love that scene. What you were talking about, the whole meat thing, it was so great. And you saw a little bit of him like enjoying that, which was great acting from Jeffrey D. Morgan. Really awesome, guys. Really like your thoughts. Let's get back to like wrapping up this episode here. Yeah. So like, speaking of Maggie, so after that discussion, we saw Maggie coming back again to free Herschel. Like, first she saw Armstrong and let him like be captured, like just be in that like freezer or whatever, and I was like, Maggie, like, free him, he can help you. Again, really dumb decision from her, but anyway, she meets up with the leader and like like hold her hostage and tried like that like tried to like get her to like release her power and get Herschel, but then Ginny is winning in the shadows. Damn you, Ginny. She's winning in the shadows. Like she was doing
What's a gun at Herschel? How dare
yeah,
you?
Herschel. Yeah, forcing Maggie to back down, which was annoying. And Ray talking about Christos talking about Negan about losing the Burgle in the army and all that. Let's see. Yes, back home. So Negan starts messing with the Korak. He acting concerned as he tells him that the Dama treats her rat better than Korak. That was kind of interesting. He's building her mething empire, but he gets no respect. He's like, as you were saying before, Dave, building up the psychological trickery that he has done previously, which we've seen, which is good. He's doing that with the Korak, we see here. So, Negan tells the Karak that he has his back. To prove himself to the Karak, he lies and tells Dama that Crystals had them surrender when they got there, but she doesn't buy it for a second. She does. She's not upset with Negan, but she's angry with the Karak, which we saw later, which this causes him to snap about how she cares about her rat more than him, and Negan's plan to separate them is working easily. So, perfect. Very much, I mean, I don't know, like Fresh, the movie, 90s, 180s. I'm talking about like that, like this very, like, just, if you know guys who aren't talking about, a great movie, Samuel Jackson's in that movie, Expatrio is in that movie, great crime thriller movie, it's really good. Yeah, I highly recommend that. It's that game, as Dave was talking about, the chess, playing, the game and the chess, and that's what Negan's doing, and I really love that. So that's one thing I like about this episode. Then we go back to the New Babylon. She leaves Roxanne outside, where she hands her in front of everyone, her people. That was like really brutal. And she the leader doesn't like fight back. She's refusing to change her mind. So although Maggie sees it all happen, there's nothing she can do. So the followers, and okay, I agree with Jeff here. I was like, I was with the followers. They were beginning to moan and mourning, and like everyone was like, because Maggie was gonna be next to him, and I don't know. I thought they were having superpowers. I thought they were like summoning the walkers. I was like, or
Maybe.
maybe this was so stupid. As
It's
just
frustrating, right?
yeah, frustrating. Like I thought maybe one of them will go sneak around and release them the cage. Makes so much sense, but instead we got this mowing that is attracting the walkers. I get that. I mean, I don't know, like. Those fences are strong. There's no way the walkers would get in that quickly. But anyway, and how stupid are they? They didn't put chains to the fences for even the walkers to come in. That's like, again, that's like so stupid. So Maggie's supposed to be next, and like literally the dead break through the gates of Central Park and literally rip nearly everyone apart. Like everyone's it's kind of like if you've seen the 28 Years Later trailer, we see a priest literally looks like, sanctuary, and the infected comes after him. It's like, no, priest, just go. The infected are going to kill you. And this is the same thing. It's like, why you want to wait for the walkers to kill you? I don't know. These people were weird. Me and Jeff were talking about this. Like, we thought they were Kamino people, Kabbalism, and no, they're just these weird spiritual people. And like, it was so weird when they allowed their member to die and like cut her out, and like somehow it's so spiritual. It's like so spiritual. I was like, what the hell? Like that's it was so bad. This group was so weird. What the showrunners were doing. Anyway, so like everyone's freaking apart. Ginny, haven't seen things gone too far. She just did this last minute like hurrah, redemption for her. I was like, too late, lady. You're bad. I don't like you. Me, Jeff, don't like you. You're the worst character ever in the Walking Dead series. No offense. Okay. I will take Carl.
But like lots of offense.
Yeah, there's a lot of offense.
Okay.
Like, look, Carl was a pain in the butt, but at least Carl was a kid. Okay, he had his problems. Like he like, come on, the kid was a kid. This is Jenny. You're and what's worse it's like she was trying to save Maggie, which she does. He fights towards the leader who was taking her so hostage, fiddling, like as the article say here, taking Herschel fiddling. I was like, yeah, for what, the third time? Like this kid is being hostage and being forced to his will, and the reanimated Lear takes the Lear out, Norves. This moment, I was clapping. I was like, yeah, she's dying. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, like she was like blocking. I was like, yeah, she died, and like I saw the neck, and then nope, it was not her. It was another person. Another walker came and was like, gonna eat your leg. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Despite the scenes being stupid, I was happy she died. I was like, I hated her from the moment where she came into the season. I was like, she's gonna die. She's gonna be the character we hate, and she's gonna die. And I love that her death was brutal. So good riddance. She was awful, really awful. So I was happy about that. Where was that? Yeah. After that whole thing happened, maybe the bird always knows. Indeed, as the article say, I was like, okay. I guess so. The birds know. But technically, I think the walkers know that this episode was bad. We needed more action, as Jeff said before. So I think
the walkers know.
Yeah, I think the walkers know. Like, I think the walkers know this was really boring, and like this lady was annoying. I'm like, we need to kill everyone. Yeah. So I thank you, walkers. This is why I love zombies, because at least you guys know what I need in my moment in life is just excitement and fear sometimes. And this was excitement, but also fearing that this was getting really bad. Anyway, this was weird. Ginny was funny when the walkers during this time. This was interesting. She did gaze her side in one of those like thighs, and I'm sorry we're bashing her, but I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill. And no, I was like, what? And then just wrapping up the story here, we get the characters like breathing relief, they're surviving, but Ginny keeps it quiet and like, I'm not affected. I'm like, don't be stupid. You're gonna be a walker, right? In this moment, right? If you get that injury, because you're gonna let it be affected, and then you'll be a walker. And Ginny, you're making me stupid decisions. I'm curious what we're gonna do with that. They're gonna make her death slowly. Like I guess she's gonna die towards the end of the series. I guess, right? I don't know. That's gonna be
weird.
Body.
We didn't see a
body. Or yeah,
I don't know.
Or I guess I mean, I thought the girl who got hurt, like I thought she was. They thought that she was becoming infected, but no, you can easily, like Jeff brought this up. You can wrap it up.
I brought it up too.
yeah, because I was like, she wasn't infected. That's not how you get infected. It was so bad. So I don't know what they're going to do with this. I know next episode it will probably either they will go to a medicine store and patch it up. I guess I don't know.
Urgent
that's
care.
what. Yeah, exactly. Who cares? I'm like, please just be done with her, please. It's like no more, please. So is that from a human or a walker? No, that was a blade. The blade took her. It's like, come on. Like, I know how you could get infected as a zombie. So during the end of the sequence, like Herschel confesses to like Maggie about the drawing was for the Dama. So I was like, okay, I'm happy she confessed it. He also means to sending the smoke signal. Okay, we got that confirmed. That was really good to know. Maggie wants to know if she has something over him, and then this was makes sense. I mean, because we saw the flashback. Herschel describes the Dama as a nice woman who talked about her plans for the city and wanted to know him, and he was a spire, but he didn't know so many people will die. Okay, that makes sense. I did appreciate that explanation. So at least we got to know why he's doing that. So that is good. And Maggie kind of understand that. I mean, she's been kind of distant to him, and been obsessed. I don't like the twist. She was accepted, to get Negan and all that. So the episode ends. So we're just wrapping up. So the episode ends with two big moments, right? So our heroes hear a knock at the door. They walk out and they find the Brugal and his man killing the walkers. And he say, "It looks like I'm late to the party." Tells Maggie, and you know that, and that was a good moment. So so that was a good moment. I actually like the Brugal as a character. He was a great new addition. I have no problem with him. His episode was really good. I'm very intrigued what he's going to be in this series. Then we already mentioned that before. It's not obvious. The Dama died. So Dama and the Korak meet each other. They have a little, disagreement. As adults, it's like, look, it's always I do everything for you. It's like a couple. Like, look, I do
Isn't
the
it,
clean.
Bridget? Isn't it like a couple? Sorry, she didn't believe me when I said they kind of like each other.
Yeah.
No, he's in love with her. She doesn't like him.
I disagree, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. This couple, friends, mother, son disagreement. I don't know what you would describe.
I actually, Andres,
Very
you
Freudian.
started to say that earlier, the like mother son.
Yeah,
and I was like, I hadn't thought of it that way, but I could see that.
yeah, because
Like a creepy, twisted version of that.
Yeah, a creepy like version of it, because just the way because in this moment we discover I pull you back in. I help you rise up. I pull you out of the dirt and like do like this accomplishment, and of course he does the throwback line. It's like, hey, I help you do this. I help you build this empire. It's like, yeah, I get that. I mean, correct, you did a lot of first things. I got to say, and you deserve the credit. I have to say, sir. And like that, and then of course, when I met this is where I met the Walking Dead moment. When we have shocking moments like that, like of course, Carol's daughter coming from the Herschel's farm, or discovering one of the, I forgot his name, Bill or Sasha's boyfriend getting eaten, his like
Bob.
right leg. Bob, thank you,
Bob.
his right leg getting like cut off because of the Terminus group from during that season 5. Like that was big moments, right? This was like literally Walking Dead moment, and they were having the tramp jump, and then she comes after him. I was like, eating her finger, like as we foreshadowed last episode. I was like, whoa, she did bite someone's finger, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna mess her. And then the core rat pushes her, and this wardrobe, as Bridget I think say, like a wardrobe like thing or something, like I don't know, like thing comes down at her, and then
giant metal thing.
A clothing rack from the 1800s, basically.
What I call it, convenient object to keep her character down for her to die. And not only that, we got fire pretty much sealing the deal here, and the Kurras, I want to save her maybe, and nope, leaves off and she dies. And she begs for this was interesting. She begs for help, calling the Kurras by his real name, Mile. That was interesting. And he flees, leaving her to die, and Negan quickly getting rid of everyone in his way. So that's the episode. Let me let me start with Jeff. Jeff, welcome back. I'm talking about the end of the episode. What are your thoughts on the end of the episode and all that?
It was just kind of whatever. Like I already kind of mentioned earlier, like I felt like the episode really kind of went downhill at some point, after that kind of like high of like, the meeting with Negan and that one dude earlier in the episode. So like, the death of the Dama is kind of just was whatever, like she wasn't really a great villain anyway. So, her death wasn't very exciting and really didn't serve anything, like, what about this whole plot line, this whole subplot with Herschel Jr., where like he has this connection with the Dama or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like the Dama's dead now, so like that's dead. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I mean, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, like what direction they decide to go with the show. into what I'm assuming is like the end of season 2 and then probably another season. Like, I'm pretty sure they'll do, for whatever reason, I have a good feeling, a strong feeling that they'll make another season of Dead City. So like there'll be season 3, and they'll probably pump it right out too. I would imagine, so they can put it up on AMC Plus, really kind of, like a sort of a letdown of an ending of an episode for Dead City. Just really not a lot of like big highlights. That big Walker scene there, and that revelation that that one new character came around to find Maggie and the marshal or whatever, there at the end. That's somewhat interesting, I guess, you know what I mean? But like not really, just so whatever kind of, so at the end of the day.
No, I agreed. I'm kind of with you, Kev. I like how long it took for us to get through this episode. It's just I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, folks. But anyway, David, let me go to you. What are your thoughts on the final act of this episode and all that?
I do have, as we were all talking and simmering, allowing this episode to simmer. I actually thought of the Dama being. I have two thoughts. The Dama being sort of a twisted reverse mirror version of Deanna, in a sense, if you think about it. Because let's really think hard about this. Because what was Rick coming into Alexandria, but an animal like Nervaez? We had compared those two, and she brought law and order. She was great. We liked Deanna. She had some. You kind of look at this group kind of like New Babylon Federation, except the reverse also, because New Babylon Federation is like, let's kill them all. We're great at everything. They're like the Walking Dead audience. Yeah. And Deanna's like, well, let me think about that. Is this right? Maybe Rick has a point. Maybe, But the Dama's like, no. No, I'm the critic, and I will brainwash you into doing what I want you to do. But similar to Deanna, what happens? Negan plus Bruegel. So power plus power equals power. Negan plus Bruegel equals the Croat, Negan, and the Bruegel, basically. And what ends up happening? She gets taken out. So that kind of actually makes sense to me. Like when I think of it in those terms, because she didn't know who she was. She thought, you make a wish with the Negan genie in the bottle, and you think you're going to get what you want. I can overcome anything. And eventually she thought wrong. She's like, well, the genie has strings attached. And if you wake the giant with his big stick, you gotta reap the whirlwind, basically. But the other thought that I had about that really is, I think, okay, so I want to touch on this because one of obviously the biggest flashpoint in this episode, one of the biggest ones is, Millet, help me, Millet. Millet, Milosh, whatever. That actually turned me around my thinking on listen, I have contrarian ideas all the time, so bear with me. I think the Dama being the critic, you criticize the ones you love. I think she's the only one that gets pooped on the most in this whole, that she poops on the most is the Croat, because you could say he's a doormat. Okay, I've seen that every single episode. Or you could think of like, you only criticize the ones you love. And I think it turned me around on like how I should think about it, because like they both agree, they're both partners, even though she kind of is like, oh, not you. But also, I think that's kind of like, she thinks that's the best way to bait the hook with him, because if I keep negging him, kind of like the hookup artist. If I keep negging him, he'll be begging for more. And, well, what is he doing at the beginning of this episode? But finding clothes to impress her, because he wants to impress her desperately. It just keeps working with him. And I'm going to say they had to have knocked boots. For sure. Okay? Knocking the boots. Wrecking rustling the curtains, as they say. Nobody says that. They do things, and we don't see it, right? We didn't see a body, but I think it happened at some point, and I think it only needed to happen once for this to be like, yeah, I need that sweet Dama action with her frock in her twirly little dress.
I hate everything that you're saying.
I'm just gonna keep going if you don't mind.
I hate it.
And,
I hate it.
and I think in the final analysis, okay, she finally treats him like the person she actually does care for. It in the final analysis when she's burning alive underneath this 1835 wrought iron, cast iron wardrobe is falling on her, and she can't get up from underneath it because it's over for it's curtains for you actually. And so I think that's what happened. And you know what? I think it was all well and good when she could keep him under control or try to. But when that wasn't working, when it finally stopped working, I think she resorted to actually treating him like a human being. And by then, again, the choice was made for her. It was too late. She had plenty of opportunities to avoid this situation by actually treating him with respect. And the day came and she wasted too much time. And by the end of it, that's what ended up happening. Like Christos all over again.
Yeah.
Like you waste too much time and the decision will be made for you. And that's the takeaway from that for me.
No,
You missed out, baby.
Yeah, we can say we're adults here, folks. We want to confirm if you didn't understand what Dave was explaining. They had sex. They made love as a couple of consent adults. So
they had an intimate encounter, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Karina said
yeah.
on our Last of Us?
Yes.
Yeah, an intimate encounter.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very typical, and it's always
15 years ago, and he never forgot it since.
Oh my god. Oh god. Okay.
Must have been good. Or not.
I guess
He never got a
guess
chance to
so.
improve the formula.
Yeah.
But the methane is great.
Oh my god. Yeah. They
Just saying.
experimented. They experimented. Okay. Bridget.
You're welcome, everybody. Thank you. Good night.
Wow.
Bravo, David. It was wonderful.
Gross.
We milked it to the max.
I'm looking forward to the dumbest critique of my performance.
Yes.
Oh, wait, she's dead. Thea. Wouldn't want to be...
Bada boom. Perfect. Perfect. Bridget.
The part of the Dom will be played by Bridget.
No. Oh God, no.
Your thoughts
Yeah,
on
so-
the final episode.
Yeah, I thought that the Dama dying was great, and I was a big fan because I really like the Croat, and
Yep.
I'm tired of her putting him down. He's just a hardworking man, dressed like a bellhop. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm glad she's finally out of the picture, and she's a creep for cutting off a kid's toe. She's like a real freaking weirdo. So like, good riddance is all I got to say about that. Do you want to hear my wild theory about this episode? Because I
Sure.
do have a theory. Okay. So
It's Streambo.
I
And
think
they're here too. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw
think-
that. They always come up. From
They
this.
come on mine too, yeah.
I think that Bruegel is actually the one who cut the power, and that he left that knife behind to plant it on Christos. And so I think that's going to come into play later. And Bruegel is my favorite, honestly. Hands down, favorite character in this season. He's so good. Kim Coates is amazing as an actor. I mean, we saw him in Sons of Anarchy and he absolutely killed it. But this
Quotable
character is
Bruegel.
ridiculous and over the top, and I absolutely adore him.
And who told him to do all that stuff? But
Negan, probably.
Yeah. No. I like your theory, Bridget. That makes a lot of sense because I think we are building him to be maybe the next antagonist, and I'd be fine like secondary antagonist. I think it makes sense. He has way more chemistry and charisma as a villain. I like. And it's interesting what he's going to do with Maggie, and no. I think that's going to happen, and that makes sense.
Be careful what you wish for. You wanted Negan. Well, here's a different version of him.
This version, thanks, guys. I'm with the majority of you guys. I was so happy when Dama died. I was like, good riddance, as Peter Parker saying in Spider-Man 3. Good riddance in my black suit, symbiote, alien, parasite. And I was like, good riddance, Dama. I didn't want you. So I agree with Bridget 100%. I'm like, Korat, be a man, take over the empire. You need the credit. you deserve it. You built all this. I mean, come on. This guy built a launch rocket zombie and destroyed the boat. That's impressive.
That was awesome.
Okay, it was awesome. And this guy has humor. He has style. I come on. He looked bashful when he was like trying to press, the dama. Come on.
I went on a whole rant about the shirt
I
though.
mean, it was
Like,
ridiculous. It was
they were
ridiculous.
paired together with nice shirts, and then you
Yeah,
went
the
back
shirt-
to your ruddy old Croatian shirt.
I know.
What are you doing? What are you
That was
doing?
that was hurtful because he.
That hurt my feelings. Actually.
Yeah, I hurt my feelings, and it's like he put him down. Like, no, this is why I want you to die in this episode, and my wish came true. Just wrapping up, I just want to read the pros and cons from the Collider recap. They
Oh.
say Negan. Yeah, it was interesting. We did this last week, and just it was kind of interesting when they say.
Are there
kinda-
pros?
Yeah, there are 2 pros. They say Negan is
Two.
family. Yeah, there's 2 and 2 negatives. Let me read it out.
Okay,
It's funny.
fair.
Yeah, Negan is finally waking up and plotting the Korak and the Dam against each other. True, I agree with that. I think that was the best part of this episode. By far, I think that was really good. I think that part I really like. This one, I don't know about this. Ginny is being given something to do after being in the background. Yeah, but not in a good way. I disagree with that. I think that should be more negative, but whatever.
That is like, it's like, I love that for you. That kind of like, yeah, here's another pro that we're gonna say is a pro, but is
Yeah.
it? It's
Yeah,
isn't that's what it feels like at least.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it was more of like more brutal, But anyway,
Cheers.
yeah, and these 2 is interesting. So there was more to crystals that could have been more explored. That's true. I kind of do agree with that. I think we should
That's
have
exactly what Jeff said. Yeah.
more. Yeah, more another episode with them because I thought like again that was another Walking Dead moment. Like seeing a group like we hate the villains, but sometimes we understood that like the governor and his people. Like I understood what was going on, and that was something that was kind of frustrating about this. We didn't spend time with that. And then this one I did agree because this is kind of getting ridiculous with Maggie. Maggie cheats death so often that it doesn't face the viewer. That's kind of true. I mean,
That's
look,
fair.
it's many seasons with this character, but there's a moment where because Jeff brought this up so many times, and I agree, it just is so laughable. Sometimes these moments where the deaths happen, and it's like you kind of like face out with this, and I think it's just some of these are so cartoonish. It's just it takes me out sometimes with this, and Maggie like getting away from so many of these things is kind of like not realistic. And
Well, there was no risk. She's got plot armor, so it's like
yeah, I know.
you
It's like
didn't.
Daryl Dixon,
You weren't
too.
worried about it.
When she's strung up, and all that, she's not gonna die. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
know.
there's no dead city without her. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know. I mean, well, it's because it was like Jenny like went so fast. Like I need to save her. And like got the chair. It's like, I mean, I was like, oh wow, that quickly. I mean, because you're hanging, like you die quickly like that. Like snap and thinner. Like it could easily snap your neck. That's the thing. And so that's the problem. Where at least Daryl, like at least when he gets hurt, it did get hurt, and he had to recover like slowly. That's the one thing I appreciate about Daryl Dixon. Is like at least they had some moments where like he had to recoup his energy sometimes. All right, let me. So we are done with the episode. Now I'm gonna go into ratings. Bridget, what's your rating for this episode?
What is the scale?
Oh, 1 to 10. Sorry, I'm sorry.
1 to 10. Okay. Oh man. Okay. For this, I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
There was a lot of buildup. I am hopefully optimistic about the latter half of the season.
I don't know. I respect. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Dave, your rating, sir.
6.5, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot out of it. I mean, I
Yeah.
always do. So
Yeah.
that's me. But 6.5 for me is pretty damning. So yeah.
That's true. Jeff, your rating, sir. I'm curious.
a 4, sir.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was
okay.
surprised. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, last week's episode was 5. Yeah, 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 this one is tough because
They can turn it around. It's up to Dead City. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if they deliver next week or whatever, I'll turn around my rating and I'll rate the episode an 8 or a 9 or whatever, if that's the case. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
they gotta come back and follow through with that,
no, I agree. Yeah, this one's tough for me. I kind of agree with Dave. I I give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh wow.
It's weird. This was a very messy mid-season finale. I kind of agree with what you're saying, Dave.
I agree.
It felt like because I don't want to reveal too much, but like me and Jeff were kind of worried about this week's episode because it was going to be boring. But I was kind of surprised how much was going on with this episode, and like the fact that
4 people died. That's insane.
Two out of 4 you cared about? Maybe one?
Maybe one. This one. one from one group, and the other I was like, one person it's not the main character, and I care more about that than these other people.
Yeah.
So that's
crazy though.
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, 6 out of 10. I thought this was like it had a lot more plot than the last 2 episodes because they felt like filler and like it was like very thin plot somewhat. Here, I agree what Richard Dev you brought up before. Like there were like 4 deaths. That was kind of crazy. They're at least moving in an interesting direction. Hopefully, they pay off. Wrapping up the series. I'm hoping, but I cannot trust the show, unfortunately. I agree with Jeff. Like, I will raise my rating if they get better. That's the thing, and I hope so because I love the Walking Dead franchise. I grew up with this. This and 28 Days Later got me into the horror stuff, and
Bridget too, by the way.
Really.
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot recently.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for the sequel, and love Danny Buller as the director, but
I hate waiting for it. Makes me hate it a little bit.
No, 2 more weeks. I just wrote it in my calendar. 28 days.
Maybe that's what we'll do, Bridget, next. I don't know. Why not?
Oh,
Dude,
I would join you guys.
I'm going to the theater for it. I never go to the theater.
I'm coming down with you. I'm going to join you.
Yeah, come down here. We'll go watch it.
It's great.
Oh my god, this is so cool. I'm sorry, folks. We're a big fan of 28 Days Later franchise. I am. Bridget, I'm so happy.
I'm a huge zombie fan, so it's like
yeah, exactly. This got me into zombies as well. So that's my thoughts on the Walking Dead episode 5. I forgot what episode was season 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this. Was 2 hours compared to last week was like a half hour. I was like,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was so bad last week. It was like
last week was 2 hours too.
What?
That's what I saw too. It just flew by though. You had so much fun.
Yeah. We were talking about
the show.
Yeah, we were talking about the Avengers dates and
I see.
stuff. So we were diverging. Here we were like, at least we stuck with the topic, which I was surprised.
You you handle that. Yeah, man.
So
thank you guys for having us.
No, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dave and Bridget, so much. I really appreciate you guys, your patience and time. I know this took a little while. It's just a lot of things that happened this episode. Now I'm gonna give this to Jeff, who will plug you guys out in our channels. Jeff,
well, I'm on my cell phone, so I can't pull up plugs or anything like that. I don't know. I don't think that works on the StreamYard like online through your phone deal. But you guys could. What do you guys want to do? Just a verbal plug for the Squawking Dead. Feel free.
Yeah.
Bridget, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, I have my own YouTube channel, and you can find me over there, and I cover a range of things, including a lot of zombie content, but lately not at all. Lately, stuff on NBC and now a limited series that was on the BBC because our show got canceled. Anyway, you can find me at youtube.com/@punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER.
Awesome.
Yeah, we go beyond the Walking Dead universe, but including, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Brutal. We talk about this show, a lot of other shows, The Last of Us, Fallout, House of the Dragon, we did Better Call Saul's last season.
Mhm.
We do a whole
From?
bunch of things from on MGM. And so we'll talk about the spooky, but mostly about the zombie, mostly the apocalypse. You never know what we'll talk about next. And you can find us everywhere on squawkingdead.com.
Thank you.
Bridget and I, and other people too.
Yes.
Well,
You never
thank
know
you.
who's going to show up.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I got it, Andres. All right. Well, we're out of here, folks. Support and rate and follow the podcast for the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Thank you, Andres. Good job tonight, sir. Appreciate you guys coming on. From the squawk. You guys were great. Hopefully we can get you to come back for like an episode.
Be happy to. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
Thank you so much
All
for
right.
having us on.
Most
No
definitely.
problem.
So, all right then. So we're out of here for the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are out. Peace. If I can exit out.
Oh,
Let's
screen
do
is
funny.
like-
Let's do
my-
funny
my-
shit
my-
while we.
My screen is like frozen. Yeah, let's do B-roll. Let's talk about B-roll shit. Like
oh my god.
like
Let's
the,
do
like the
TikTok
Stevie-
dances.
The Stevie sexual relationship with the Dama and
Oh God,
the
no.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Oh
so
my
let's
God,
go
close
into
it.
it.
Close it. Close it.
So I think the bellhop thing was role playing, but it didn't work. And Dom was like, "No, thank
No.
you." And I will never get into an elevator with you, especially in Herschel's room. If you're talking about a mother-son relationship, it just got weird in here, folks, and sweaty. And
I totally cannot. I can't think about the Dama in a sexual manner.
No,
I didn't say this on our show, but I was like, every time somebody brought up Ozark, I'm like,